Hello guys, this is group number 7, and for our second vlog, we're going to be talking about gender stereotyping in entertainment. So, what is a stereotype? Before we get into our topic, we must first explain what a stereotype is. Stereotype is a fixed or conventional image of a person or group of people. Stereotypes generally conform to a pattern of dress and behavior that is easily recognized and understood. Often, a judgment is made about the person or group being stereotyped. Gender-related content has been portrayed in stereotypical ways in advertising, commercials on multiple platforms, and in television shows. Most of the gender-related content in these different platforms of media are examples of the roles of females and males that are geared mostly towards children. It has been argued that some of the most blatantly sexist representation of women is found today in video games, like the examples of Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, Tifa from Final Fantasy VI, and Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5. As we can see, they are more focused on the shape of their body. However, while the proofs of biased depiction in video games, showing women as passive beings, kidnap princesses to rescue or sex objects to win or to use are numerous and indisputably recorded, their effects on gamers' stereotypes of women remains debated despite some preliminary experimental demonstrations. Next is, we notice that movies and video games tend to give emphasis on men. One of the movies is Forrest Gump. So he was not shown as a sexual male. He was not shown as an object, but he was shown as a person. Unlike in other female leads, they are usually sexualized. And next, in video games, we concluded that it gave emphasis on men because when in character creations, the game usually shows up a man instead of a woman first. It never shows a woman in the first. You still have to choose the female gender as an option. So, let's talk about the male gaze. According to Janice Lorek of Monash University, the male gaze invokes the sexual politics of the gaze and suggests a sexualized way of looking that empowers men and objectifies women. In the male gaze, woman is visually positioned as an object of heterosexual male desire. Her feelings, thoughts, and her own sexual drives are less important than her being framed male desire. So one of the examples is Megan Fox in Transformers and Jennifer's Body. We can see in both images that the way she was dressed, it was sexualized, and her role too is being sexualized. So in games, we have Lara Croft. Even before they try to make her body more in shape or more curvy, as we say. Since their origins, video games have tended to portray women as characters needing help or holding passive or instrumental roles. Technology in the past has been culturally and socially linked to masculinity, and women have been discouraged from becoming more efficient with technology due to the social and cultural expectations forced on them, rather than biological differences. when computers and game consoles became popular in the 1980s and the 1990s, they were dominated areas. So when computer games gained more popularity in the 2000s, they were less likely to be accessed by women. Some earlier examples would be games like Super Mario Bros., as well as The Legend of Zelda, being games that depict female characters as the damsels in distress to be rescued, or even a reward to be gained by completing the game. So next is, let's move on the articles or research that we have for this topic. So the first article we have is an article by Wired in 2019 showing the amount of diversity in leading characters within games as presented by E3 within the last 5 years. First off, in 2015, there were only 9% of games that have a leading female character. That was presented in E3. Next is, in 2017, the number went down to 7%, which will only get lower in 2019 by 2% more, which will become 5%. So, as we can see, there's a trend that's going down throughout the years. In video games, we tend to lean more on male leads, but not in male characters. Usually, what's happening is that the female characters in game becomes a secondary character, like a support character or something like that, and the male character will become the lead. So in the next article, we also found that 36% of female gamers said that women are treated with less respect, and while 24% said that they are treated about equally. So, not just in games, but even in with interactions with people, female gamers are still having trouble interacting with other people since they are treated with less respect. But even though some are treated equally, there are still women that are still treated with less respect. So the last article is still about assault, where according to the Women's Media Center speech project, chat room participants with female usernames report receiving threatening or sexually explicit private messages 25 times more often than those with male or ambiguous names. So, for our conclusion, these perceptions, as mentioned, limits one's beliefs in their capabilities as a human given their gender. Being given that generalized perspective by others within these forms of media, it also limits one's opportunity within taking certain roles in fear of being judged as or because of these perceptions. To why a lot of games that are played being professionally sometimes lack female players, given its predominantly male player base within teams. And also, I think it's wrong to look women as objects. Treat as objects even if it's in just films or video games. We should still look at them as a person, not an object.